Welcome back. Opening practice session here at the Hungaroring, and I'm delighted to say apt that Christian Horner is here. Daniel Ricciardo, quickest in that session. That must please you greatly.
Yeah, it was a great session for Daniel. He looked quick on both compounds of tyres, so seems to be pretty happy with the car. Still early days, but nice way to start the weekend.
Upgrades?
There's a few bits and pieces, aerodynamically, a few little bits mechanically, so plenty of data now for the guys to get into in the factory, so they'll be trawling their way through that as we speak.
Looked very strong in the middle sector as well. Is that the strength of what you think you'll bring with the upgrade? Is that where you expect it to work?
Well, we need to try and be quick in sectors 2 and 3. You know, they're the twisty bits. So yeah, and the car looked great, you know, in that part of the track. So it's a track Daniel's always excelled at as well. So you know, hopefully this sets him up for a good weekend.
I guess that's the driving force of the race as well, because it's expected to be very hot track temperatures on Sunday. Kind of looks after the tyres if you've got the car sorted there as well. Do you think the heat's a good thing for you to fight Mercedes? Because we know they struggle overworking the tyres sometimes.
I don't know really. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, in his long run there, everything looked pretty under control. His pace was equally as impressive on the long run as it was on the short run. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's cooler today than it would normally be, and I think Sunday is going to be pretty scorching.
You were told to stiffen the front wing. You've had to put a little strut, haven't you, between some of the upper flaps and the front wing end plate. Has that cost you at all?
Oh, we haven't been told to stiffen the front wing. I think there's some optical illusions of where people have got carried away thinking our front wing's flexing, but it's if you look at the static point of the wing, it's actually pointed in a in like a backed off position. So we haven't been told.
So there's
been no instruction. It passed all the tests. And I think optically, I think it gives an illusion of backing off. But if you look at it in a stationary position, it's doing the same thing.
Seen a couple of photos though, which did look like an illusion on the underside of the car, and a couple of flaps down on that. Is that? Can you tell us anything that's going on clever underneath the floor of your car right now?
Well, as I say, all the bits have to work in conjunction with each other, and I don't think there's anything particularly trick there. So you know, it's a theme that others are pursuing as well. So you know, like with all these things, it passes the test. It's legal.
Okay. Just in terms of the season as a concept, we're saying you're now finding that pace. You were set back a little bit by the problems with the heave springs early on. I mean, certainly that's something that Mercedes struggled with. They were trying to get themselves into that sort of the tyre window, if you like, and it was really costing them early on. Is that, you know, do you think you've got on top of that now?
Well, I don't think that affected us at all, to be honest with you. I think it was more to do with correlation issues between the tools that we have, wind tunnel and CFD, not being consistent with previous years. So I think once we identified where those weaknesses were, we were able to focus on right, this is where we need to improve. And I think really since Barcelona race, where you know, direction sort of changed, you know, the car's got better and better. And if I look at for example, look at the last 4 races, we've only given away 2 points to Ferrari, and we've had a couple of DNFs in there as well. So, you know, I think generally we're definitely going in the right direction.
It's important to go into the summer break, obviously, with a good result and try and get everything settled. At what point do you write this year off, Christian? You know, because it doesn't look like you're going to obviously be able to get Ferrari. Do you focus on next year and try and take an evolution of this car into next year?
We write off in Abu Dhabi at the checkered flag. So, you know, we have a mentality to keep pushing, you know, all the way through this championship, irrelevant of what the tables say, because you're always learning. You know, and the minute the press release comes out saying you're focused on next year's car, it's a cop-out. You know, every time you're on the track, you're learning, and the regulations are stable. You know, the same for next year, and so obviously everything that we see from the remaining races, we've still got time to incorporate into RB14.
You've got Pierre Gasly getting into the car on Tuesday and Wednesday. What are his chances, you think, of getting a drive next year, Christian?
With us, none. But you know, with elsewhere in the paddock, it's the best advert for him. He's doing a great job as our test and reserve driver. He's a GP2 reigning champion. You know, he's a great young talent to have in the stable. So you know, he's done our junior driver testing, you know, in Bahrain for us, and we'll be doing the same on day 2 in Hungary here.
I know you can't speak on behalf of Toro
Rosso, but you know, I'd be surprised if Danny wasn't retained. He's had a bit of bad luck this season, but generally, his performances are getting stronger and stronger. So, I think he just needs to put a few clean weekends together.
And does that mean Carlos is a bit happier? Is he more comfortable than he was? Obviously, he's making a bit of noise.
He seemed all right. I haven't seen him so far this weekend. Silverstone, before the race, he seemed okay.
No more slap wrists.
All four of them actually had a game of tennis on. Got into Wimbledon fever on Saturday night pre-Grand Prix, and
who won it?
He looks. Do you know what? I think it was a draw.
Honourable draw.
The best way, always is a team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's move back onto the Halo. Look, I know the guys have been discussing it a lot in commentary, and you've put your thoughts forward on this one. It's here to stay now. I suppose the writing was on the wall, as you say, in the moment it was on the car.
Yeah. I think as soon as it was put on the car, I think that immediately put the FIA into a difficult position. We tried with the aero screen to give an alternative, and then that was obviously another derivative of that was run in Silverstone. But as soon as Sebastian said it made him dizzy and he couldn't see, that was postponed, and the flip-flop Halo is unfortunately what the FIA have decided to enforce upon us. So I can sort of understand their situation from a safety perspective, but for me it goes somewhat against what single-seater open cockpit racing is.
I was just going to say, a lot of people tune into the first laps of Grand Prix because they like the excitement, the buzz, the adrenaline of what it is. Do you think that goes away with that because you introduce something like that aesthetically, because it looks different?
Well, there's always an element of danger in driving these cars. I mean, you've driven them enough to know that, and you accept the risks when you get in the car, and I think that the danger is at what point do you make it too safe? At what point do you not need the driver? And the drivers are the heroes, and that's the way it should be. And as I said earlier, MotoGP aren't putting roll cages and stabilizers on, and it's a shame that Formula One is now in that situation.
Do you think it's going to throw up its own issues? I mean, I saw a couple of mock-ups. If you're thinking coming full tilt down the bottom of Eau Rouge, going back up there, and you're looking up and you can see the top of the flip-flop, the top of the Halo, if you like. You think there's going to be issues like that when elevation changes?
There will be. I think we'll engineer our way around them. Yeah. I think there's the unintended consequences. What in an Alonso-type accident is a driver going to get trapped? That kind of thing. But then again, if you look at would it have saved Justin Wilson's life? Would it have saved Henry Surtees? If it would, then you can understand why the FIA have introduced it.
There's no doubts that it is going to change the car a lot, but the FIA have said they've given some flexibility as well, what you can do. I think it's 20 mil of kind of aero of workload on it, so I guess somewhere down it somebody will take it too far, won't they? In their design, what it is there to do.
I think the other problem that most of the teams have got is weight. It's heavy, and it's weight that's high up. So it's another 10 kilos. Now, we were given an allowance for this year, but the cars everybody's struggling to hit the weight limit. So all it's done is put more pressure. It's going to cost a hell of a money to try and get 10 kilos out of the car to justify obviously getting the Halo on there.
Simple solution, get a smaller driver, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I was always the other way.
Yeah, you got a problem.
17% safer, that's what they say the guys are going to be. Any updates you can tell us on your relationship with, I know there's been a few reports, that Porsche leaving WEC, they're saying they're going into Formula E. You think that, you're in discussions with the likes of them, the likes of VW right now, looking further forward for another engine partner potentially?
I think, we've got an agreement with our current engine supplier for, the foreseeable future. You always want more. They're working hard, they're investing. They have their own team now, they obviously need a competitive engine. So, we're just hopeful that they keep making progress. But I think what's interesting is you've got these manufacturers going Formula E. Formula E is less than probably 10% of the cost of Formula One. And it's interesting manufacturers choosing to go that route. And I think Formula One is really at a crossroads now in what should the product be going forward. It should be man and machine at the limit, and the car should sound great, be aggressive, and it should be entertaining racing.
Is that bringing more independent engine manufacturers back into the equation? Is it sort of piquing their interest a little bit more?
I think ideally, at least you'd have one in there. You know, and I think technology does need dumbing down a bit. These are great engineering, you know, pieces of art basically in the car, but again, their road relevance is pretty, you know, nondescript. And I think whatever regulations they come up with for the future need to simplify things. We've got to get the noise back. We've got to get the cost down, and the power unit. You know, from a selfish point of view, we just don't want to be a performance differentiator to the extent that it currently is.
Okay, Christian, thanks for your time as always. We'll let you
and you know, obviously, best wishes to Martin. Hope he's feeling better on his couch in Marbella or wherever he is.
Yes, he's on the mend. He's on the mend.
Good.
Thanks very much, Christian. Appreciate it. Right, like a couple of incidents out there on the track in the first session. What did you make of Jolyon?